Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Conversations in Newmarket with Neighbor. I'm happy today. I have three good friends of mine joining me on the podcast. I have Chris, Brent, and Tiana. We're going to talk about a lot of things we care today, Easter seals, making sure we help kids get to camp and all the great activities around that. And we're going to talk about what's going on around Newmarket and Aurora, keeping people connected to the community. So welcome you guys to the podcast.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, I'm Tina Finelli. I'm one of the hosts for See What She Can Do Conversations, the podcast. I'd love for you to come explore stories, adventures, and resources that inspire and keep you moving. We invite you to join us as we uncover stories of hope, resilience, community, and creative thinking from active women and sports lovers just like you. We celebrate the challenges and successes that spark growth, and we talk to supporters who encourage us to do all that we love most. So come check us out, See What She Can Do Conversations, the podcast at seewhatshecando.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Great. So welcome back. It's always great to have our commercials cut in there and sort of sponsor. We couldn't even do these things because, we got to pay for hosting and things like that. So Tiana, I want to welcome you to the show. I think we've maybe kind of emailed before or something in the past, and you're part of We Care. We know Kevin, or I know Kevin as well from Easter Seals and from his days at Friends of We Care. Now you've done some brand change and stuff. So welcome to the show. Why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers all about We Care?
Yeah, so We Care has been around since 1983, so we have a bit of time behind us. We're Easter Seals Canada's largest annual contributor, and we're supported mostly exclusively by the food service and hospitality industry. That is where our connection lies. We raise money through memberships and events, which are run by, one of our third-party event runners are in this chat right now. Brent runs a great third-party event for us. And all the money that we raise supports our accessible camping program.
That's great. Yeah, I've been. Chris, have you been down to the camp? I know we're involved with Dancing with the Stars for Easter Seals, so we're connected to Easter Seals. Did you go down to the camp, the one in London, or?
I went to Camp Wood Eden in London, and I have to say, I actually went after I was in a fundraiser, the Dancing with the Stars fundraiser, and I almost wish I'd seen it before, but. Maybe one of the most powerful days I've ever experienced. Just incredible facility.
At the end of this podcast, we're going to put links up to all the things people can connect to, including the camp and We Care and all the websites. And Brent, we know you've got some stuff going on the web, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I found it to be super powerful too. Like I remember being there, seeing somebody who was in a wheelchair zip line on how he got hoisted up into, and not only that, it was his 10th time being at camp and the 10th time he was ziplining, and it was an extraordinary thing that I saw. So Brent, you and I talk every day almost, it seems like. So we do lots of things together. Brent does some work with Snap, which has become now Neighbor, historically done. And Brent, I've been involved with your charity golf challenge. So why don't you tell us about that and how long you've been doing that and how much money you've raised? And
well, it started, my mom wasn't well in 2013, so I decided to start a golf tournament because I knew that she wouldn't, unfortunately, she passed away from cancer, and I knew that she wouldn't be around for much longer, so I wanted to get something going to keep my mind occupied in the event something terrible happens. So her advice to me was do what you can control, because eventually the cavalry's going to come. So only do what you can manage. So we started the event in 2014, and she was able to make it to the first one for lunch. And her advice to me when I got home was, "Good job. Keep it simple. Only do what you can handle and what your people can handle, because eventually when it takes off, you'll have a lot of help, and you just have to believe that." And I have, and she was exactly right. That October she passed away, and and this is our 8th year now. We've had to adapt, and I'll get that in a minute. But the first 7 years of the event, last year we couldn't have it at all, but we basically online fundraising, and we raised about $7,000 last year. And this year we've adapted it. We're offering Cardinal Lee vouchers at CharityGolfChallenge.ca.
Look at the perennial marketer, Brent. It's always spinning web addresses and phone numbers and how to get in touch with them and click here to get money, give money. That's good, Brent. So it's amazing. We'll post that at the end, and our listeners will be able to click through. How much have you raised to date, Brent?
I think we're at, so far, there's 152 rounds of golf available, and we've sold 61 so far. And I think we're up around just over $7,000.
I was thinking more in the sense of for We Care, Friends of We Care.
Oh,
how much are all your golf tournaments and things raised?
$72,000.
Sweet.
To not including this year.
Nice.
But $72,000 in the first 7 years.
So obviously, Tiana, it's important to have people like Brent involved with the organization, shining a light. I know I play in that golf tournament, and there's always roughly around 80 or 100 people involved, and it's bringing awareness to your organization. Mm-hmm. I think you probably would be teed up to say things there, and how I guess your entire organization is driven by people like Brent. Is that fair to say?
That's very fair to say. Yeah, we have a very small team. We're right now we're 3.5 staff, but at normal capacity it'd be 4.5. So it's a very small team. And last time, pre-COVID, we were raising and donating about $1.4 million in annual contributions. So we can't do that with a staff of 4. We do it with communities and volunteers and committee members who help us run and support and promote all of our individual activities. So we couldn't do what we do without people like Brent and other individuals in the sector.
I know you're in North York or Toronto, but is it a truly Canadian entity, or are you primarily in the province, or where does your organization operate?
Yeah, so our headquarters are in North York, but we are a national organization. There are Easter Seals camps across Canada, so we do feel we have that national reach. And we do have events in other parts of Canada as well. And something that's unique to us is that our membership program pays for our administrative costs. So every time we run an event or we get a donation or people are fundraising, 100% of those funds go directly to Easter Seals to support their camping program. And if we're running activities or money is coming from another province, that all those dollars will go right back to that province to support the local Easter Seals office.
That's amazing. Chris, it's really important. I know you were a political guy for a long time in Newmarket, and I think as someone around community and with a pulse on the community, obviously charity is a big thing in Canada. It's important for us to be sponsoring. One of the things we're doing with our new Neighbur brand, which is launching, and maybe even by the time this airs, it'll be on the street, is we actually have a fundraising volunteer highlights, and we'll talk to you, Tiana, about that, on how you can leverage all our neighbors across Canada on shining a light on people like Brent and stimulating people to do. But coming back to you, Chris, I know not just to get votes, because I know you personally, and it's super important for people to be involved with charity. And what are some of the things, like your takeaways from being involved with Easter Seals and driving revenue and donations? And why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I think the one thing too, and probably everyone here can probably speak to it, it's tougher and tougher to fundraise now too, because there's a lot of competition out there, the ability to have events. So for those to make sure that they're finding opportunities to, support causes, especially during this pandemic where, it's been really challenging. But I mean, I got involved with Easter. I mean, I started, I was a kid in Newmarket. Anyone who grew up in Newmarket knew the Persicini Run. It was an Upper Canada Mall. It was huge back in the day. And so I did that as a kid growing up. And, you get to appreciate the charity and seeing the different kids over the years who you were helping, and then to get involved with the Easter Seals, the Dancing with the Easter Seal Stars event in Newmarket and Aurora was just an amazing experience. You get to see firsthand, the difference you're making. And then I've also had the pleasure of the last, I think 4 or 5 years at least, maybe longer, emceeing the now Joe Persicini Easter Seals run. And it's just such a great cause. And then we were speaking about earlier, going to Camp Wood Eden, when you see firsthand the difference that groups like We Care are doing or having on kids. You were talking about the seeing the kid up on the swing and whatnot. There was a high ropes course.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Oh, it was mind blowing. I don't think I would do it. And just to see the kids lined up and cheering each other on is one of the most amazing experiences ever.
How many, Tiana? I know perusing your website, I see that from inception you've raised over $25 million. That's amazing. And I think I saw a number of how many camp days that translated to, and how many was that? It was like thousands. I know.
Yeah, I mean, we can fundraise about 5,200 days at camp every year. Of course, the cost of camp continues to go up. These camps are usually one-on-one ratios of counselor to child, right? So the cost of attending one of these camps is substantially higher than, a regular camp would be. That's because a lot of these kids, they need to be bathed, they need to be fed. They require a lot more attention, than an able-bodied child. What would the average cost be like per day for a child attending a camp? We'd say it's about $250. And again, that will depend on province and the type of camp. Every province will host different types of camps. So some will focus specific weeks on kids with autism. Some will focus on leadership camps for older kids. Some will focus on family camps, which allows, younger kids who are unsure about leaving home, and also parents who are unsure about leaving their child with special needs with strangers, the opportunity to go and camp as a family so that they can really see the facilities and the care and the kindness and attention that their kids would get if they were to go on their own. So it's a good introduction to allow the kid to go next year. Yeah, that's amazing. And I think, you probably find a lot of those kids maybe have never had that opportunity to be away from their parents. And I think maybe even the parents, next year or whenever it may be, would look forward to that week as well. Having, the ability to enjoy or do whatever they do, and the comfort and knowledge that their child is safe and being entertained and having fun. I remember when I was at the, when we went for the visit, they served us a lunch. There was a bunch of us that came down, and everybody was fawning all over us, because Chris and I are handsome people. So, we naturally get that kind of thing anyway. But I remember them talking about the big part of camp was the dance at the end of the year or at the end of the week. And everybody was immersed in planning for it. We must have got there a couple of days before the dance, I guess, and how everybody was really getting, excited for the dance and planning and music. And it was like a totally awesome vibe. Brent, did you ever go to camp? Yes, I did when I was 8 years old, and I can remember, well, I only went once because I was pretty homesick, but it was an enjoyable experience. And they had a lot of activities, but nothing like they got, the ropes course was, I'm pretty sure it was pretty unheard of back then. But we still played wheelchair basketball and floor hockey, and we were in the pool, and we had, I think it was about almost one counselor to 2 campers, something. But even I'm sure that's improved. But I can still remember the names of my counselors because it was that positive experience. I remember we got up, went fishing at 6:30 in the morning. That was a real big deal to me. But we didn't catch anything. That would be a big deal for me now, getting up at 6:30. But we went fishing, and we got everybody in a little boat, and we went in the middle of Georgian Bay and didn't catch anything, but we had fun, and as I say, I held those memories dear. So I feel it's very important for me as a
a person who likes to give back to make sure that I can do what I can to make sure other kids have that experience.
Yeah, that's good. And as I said, I know maybe this was even before we went on the air, how you helped me with my Easter Seals Dancing with the Stars Day, on how you helped me promote a bunch of stuff, because our goal at Dancing with the Stars was not coming through We Care, but making sure Easter Seals, the money ended up in this, with the same logic as Tiana, ended up with into their coffers to get kids to camp. That's how we were spinning it, and fundraising. And I know you helped me raise a lot of money. We had, you and I think that's maybe when we became really good friends then.
Yeah. And I've enjoyed working for you, or working with you and for you, and hopefully you'll get a gang out there at Cardinal this year to buy your e-vouchers and go golfing.
Yeah. So yeah, just specifically on that, and I know Brent kind of talked about it. What we can do, Chris, is we can buy a foursome or a twosome. You can log in. It's available through the We Care site if you click on the events. And friends, what's the website called, Brent? Your direct website?
www.charitygolfchallenge.ca.
Right. So you can click through there. You can buy your foursome that way. So if you're going to go golfing anyway, you might as well buy it that way. And a percentage of the money goes to We Care, which in turn 100% goes to kids for, is it virtual camp? What's happening this year, Tiana, with, COVID and all that? Like what are things that are planned, and, how are you working around COVID, so to speak?
Yeah, so our sole purpose is to fundraise for the organization. We don't decide, what camps are happening, who the funding goes to. That's totally dependent on the Easter Seals offices and the needs of the families. But of course, given the pandemic, in-person camps were not possible last year, and in many provinces won't be again this year. But obviously, kids are so sad they can't go to camp over the past couple of years, and they've been able to connect them through virtual camp experiences. So some provinces are doing camp kits that they're sending over to kids at home, and then they're participating and getting to connect with their friends virtually. It's not the same, and we're really excited to have camp again and to feel the magic of camp, like Chris talked about earlier, to really experience all the accessible facilities. But for now, everyone's doing their best in connecting people and still showing that there are people out there for them. The counselors are still there and they want to see the kids, and vice versa. So
that's great. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little break right now. Just once again, I got to feed a commercial through it, because we got to raise money so we can keep doing this to help you raise money. So we'll just take a little bit of a break and we'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Francinelli Glusman Integrative Medicine. Are you feeling tired? I know I am. Sometimes overwhelmed, and maybe even having trouble sleeping. Do you feel like you need a break? Well, Francinelli Glusman Integrative Medicine has a team of all kinds of experts: naturopathic doctors, massage therapists, psychotherapists, and exercise therapists, and they're going to help you achieve your best mental, emotional, and physical health. This great team uncovers the underlying cause of your health concerns, and then they provide you with recommendations that activate your very own body's innate healing powers for optimum health and wellness. During these unprecedented times, this is needed now more than ever. Find Francinelli Glusman Integrative Medicine at seewhatshecando.com on our Athlete Advisor.
So here we are, we're back. Why don't you tell me some of the things, Tiana, that people could do beyond Brent's golf tournament, and that you might be looking to do to fundraise, how people can get involved? I'm sure people can come to your website and make a donation, but what would you like to see people like Chris and I and Brent do to support you, and how can we help? As Chris said, it's a bit of a challenge, or has been a challenge, fundraising. So what are some of the things you guys are doing?
Yeah, it's certainly been a challenge this year. Again, where most of our fundraising occurs through events, and with COVID-19, we've been very limited in the number of events or the opportunities that we've had for that. So we've tried to get really creative with virtual solutions. And a couple of weeks ago, we had our virtual gala. We sent people, gala at home boxes to try to add a bit of interaction, I guess, with the virtual experience. Brent has taken his event and turned it from an in-person to an e-voucher system, which is great. And people have had to change and pivot, what they're doing to fundraise, because it has been definitely harder. And I would say anyone that's in the community, support events like Brent who are giving back. And if you're interested, get in touch with us directly, and we could think about some ways that you can fundraise locally. Again, our focus is the food service industry, so it's a great opportunity for restaurants even to get involved, and they could do a We Care Day and sell heart-shaped cookies if you're a bakery, for example, things like that. It brings more people out to your store because people want to support causes that give back, especially, look how successful McHappy Day is, and the Tim Hortons cookie drives are. People particularly, I don't buy cookies at Tim Hortons ever just because I try to eat healthy, but of course, on those days, I'm going in and buying cookies all the time because I know it's giving back. So it does bring people in.
Yeah, I buy cookies every
right?
day. But anyway.
My body wants cookies every day, but my mind is convincing me not to. So
COVID has made me buy cookies every day.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think we all get a pass over the last couple of years. So.
But I think you're touching on some things, and it's interesting because as Neighbur, or Snapped and Neighbur, we actually influence or communicate with a lot of restaurants. And so I think there's things we can do right after this show that we should talk about, that we could develop programs that I think could be free for everybody, the restaurants themselves, because we have to be attuned to what they're coming out of a nightmare as well, in the sense that, I know close to where we are, places like Old Village Free House, they've basically been closed 400 out of the last 500 days. We have to make sure they're going. But there's things we could do because people like Chris and I and Brent, we're out there again. We've been locked up for a year and a half. We're excited to get back out doing things. And for us to come into a place like that and say, hey, would you like, a cookie or whatever for dessert, or some strategy to say, how about adding $5 to your pay or your bill for We Care? Those are the kind of things that I think we could strategize around. And our network is massive at Neighbur. So we're probably connected to maybe 1,000 restaurants or something like that. And so we should take it after this. We'll let all the listeners and viewers know what we come up with. Yeah. I think Brent could get involved with it too. But there is a way for us to potentially get into something like that. We're using a lot of technology around augmented reality, so we could have potentially table talkers that come to life. We could showcase Chris dancing, raising money for We Care, and people could, right from that augmented reality, make a donation. I think there's some cool ideas that certainly we've been challenged with as a media and a tech company, and Chris works in tech too, to really be innovative around things like fundraising and connecting with people. So I'm going to suggest that we actually chat after this about what we could do.
I was going to say, Paul, the one thing that, in your past iteration with Snapped and now with Neighbur that we see is how you've brought communities together and organizations and people. So, we're all grateful for that too. And, you were partly, why I got involved with the Easter Seals. And so thank you for that. And, if it means we have to meet on a patio now that things are reopening and we have to plan an idea around this, I think we should do that.
There might be a beer involved. Someone's got to do it, Chris.
And then we'll go golfing.
You brought up a good point too, right?
Exactly. We'll get our voucher from Brent to go golfing.
Yeah, the food service industry has really been hard hit this year, right? And that's so most of our money is raised through corporate dollars. We don't go to the individual for a lot, except for these third-party initiatives like Brent's doing, where you are, he's approaching companies, of course, but it's a lot of individuals in the community that are supporting out of their own pocket. For us, we sell foursomes to companies. But companies are now shrinking their budgets, and they're all food service companies. So they're all really struggling. They're seeing 90% decreases in their revenue. So we also think that there's opportunities to create these We Care days or to promote it from a charitable aspect, that we can promote it to our network And it can also get more people back to restaurants or more people ordering takeout. We've done a couple meal kit promos over the last couple of months, and we want to help restaurants, and they're struggling to sell food. They're trying to get out these meal kits or doing something different, so we can promote it, and 15% goes back to We Care. It's a great cross promotion. It helps them get more business. It helps We Care get support. So kind of a win-win from that perspective.
Right. But from our perspective, we have, we're probably engaged with 1 million people on social media. We have a readership of over 3 million people. So we can shout for all the restaurants and for We Care.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking specifically, and I'm already into the meeting we're going to have after this, but we're doing some really cool stuff with technology using augmented reality. We could have a program that comes right off coasters. And I'm already thinking of, this is how I work. I'm already thinking that you have the coaster, which is one side about the particular restaurant, but the other side could be all about We Care and people getting more information, looking at camp videos, making a donation, whatever it is they're doing. So anyway, we'll stay on the line after this. But I think I want to wind it up. We like to keep our conversations in Newmarket at around 25 30 minutes. I want to thank you guys for attending. I think we have a greater understanding about We Care. Chris and I can polish up our shoes and meet on a patio and talk about strategy we can bring to network. Want to encourage everyone to get Brent's golf certificates and support Brent and via We Care via Brent. And Brent, keep up the great work with your golf tournaments. I look forward to next year actually playing again, and we'll play this year, but playing next year in your golf tournament. And I think things are coming back to life. It's good that we seem to be getting over COVID, and I want to encourage everyone to stay healthy and do what we can for our communities. I want to thank you guys again for being on the show. And Tiana, Brent, and Chris, we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Paul.